I long for the day to be single again.
What's your biggest regret in life?
Married.
It's just not worth it dealing with someone else every single day of your life.
In most marriages, women get the short end of the stick.
Like, I regret with everything in me. I regret marrying.
Marriage ruins a woman's life.
You're gonna live as long, you're not gonna be as happy, you're not gonna be as healthy. I think it's beneficial, but it's still not.
Did you know that when you enter a marriage as a woman, your life expectancy goes down about 1.7 years?
Why was I not enough?
Let me tell y'all what really holds marriages together. Women just putting up with shit.
I remember laying in bed at night, asking myself if I could do this.
My 17-year marriage work all of these years is by compromising myself.
I knew my marriage wasn't gonna work the night of my wedding.
I was sold on the dream that the nigga is your end all be all.
Go back and tell myself one thing, it would be don't get married. Run, bitch, run fast.
So I was scrolling on social media the other day and I came across this post and it literally stopped me in my tracks. The post said, I saw a TikTok that asked, would you marry your husband all over again? And honestly, 85% of the comments said they hated being married. Is it really that bad? No, Islanders, you know, when I read that, I thought 80%? That's exorbitant. That's a lot. You mean 85% of women hate it? Yeah, as I said, that sounds dramatic. Curiosity got the best of me, you know, being the Capricorn that I am. So, of course, you know, I clicked the comment section and honestly, your girl was surprised at how women were really feeling, and they were expressing openly that they regret getting married. Not so much divorced women or not even exes, but women who were still actively married. So you guys already know I had to jump onto TikTok, and boy oh boy, I went down a whole rabbit hole, video after video, stitch after stitch, women sharing their experiences, their frustrations, their realizations. Some were calm, but some were emotional and some were laughing through it. But the common theme was reflection. And what caught my attention wasn't even anger, it was basically hindsight. It was women saying that if I knew then what I knew now, or maybe I love my husband, but, or even some of them saying I wouldn't choose this life again and never in another lifetime. That was a very specific kind of statement. So of course today, guys, you know, me have to bring it over here. We're going to unpack it. And of course, guys, before we jump any further, let me ask you, for all my married Islanders, is marriage really that bad? Or are people just no more honest about what it used to be? And for my Islanders that aren't married, is it something that you truly desire? Of course, chime down in the comment section. Of course, let us talk about it. But of course, guys, before we jump into today's video, be sure to like this video for your girl. Show some support. It's easy and it's free. And if you're new here, seeing my face, hearing my voice for the very first time on this channel, they call me Jody. And we would love to have you join the Islanders family. So go on ahead and hit the subscribe button with right down there. So with that being said, guys, let's get into today's video.
I hate being married. I long for the day to be single again. The only thing that's causing me to stay and stick it out is because I've been a housewife for 10 years. And to get back out there in the workforce with a mental illness, there's some fears that I have. But I literally do hate being married. So y'all know how I say that I always use my content to push my pain into purpose, make y'all laugh. A lot of this pain is connected to my marriage. A lot of it. I just try my hardest not to put it out there, and I'm still not going to go into details. But just know that this shit is not fucking gold. And no matter how much I try, no matter what I do, at the end of the day, I still just want the out. I want to be single. I know I can love myself better alone than anybody can love me with them. I love who I am, but I do not love who I am with this person. I hate being married. And on my life, once this is over, I would never get married again.
What's your biggest regret in life?
Married.
What about it?
You have teeth, you bite at.
Tell me about the teeth.
Betrayal, everything.
What advice do you have for people that, is kind of seeking to get married right now? What would you say to them?
Seek God.
Well, let me ask you, are you divorced?
No.
Okay, so there was a breakdown in your marriage, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Are you comfortable saying what caused that breakdown? What's one of the things that you're most proud of that brought you to the place that you're at right now?
Christ.
What's your name?
Toya.
Thank you for sharing, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's just not worth it dealing with someone else every single day of your life. Every day. Every day you gotta deal with somebody. Is marriage even worth it? It's not. It's not. At some point you're gonna realize that it's always best to just be alone, because I've been married for about 7 years and I don't even know if this is worth it. And not saying that there's anything necessarily wrong. There's nothing wrong, and that's the point. I don't even know why I'm upset. I'm just not thinking that I made the right decision. And I have a good man. I do. And that's not the point. The point is, it's you really do lose yourself. You lose your sense of individuality. You lose your sense of peace. And this could be even to a good man. You're gonna lose something, and I don't think it's worth it. At all. I've always had a dream of getting out of my hometown city and moving on, moving forward. Life is supposed to be experience. We're supposed to be doing new things and traveling and all that, and I do all of that. But at some point, I don't know if I want to continue doing this every single day of my life. Always checking in with someone, always having to consider their feelings, it's always somebody else. You're never alone. You never have a moment to yourself. You never can do that. And I don't know, and there's gonna be some bitches out there that say oh no, you should not. No, be weird and not a real ass couple. But I really want girls to know, even if it's absolutely worth it, I don't think it is. Even if you found the most perfect man, it's not worth it. It's not. It's always gonna be best to just be alone. And maybe that's why so many men tell older women they're gonna die alone and be so sad. I'm sad with a great man. Maybe it's just not my personality. And I know girls are out there that dying for a relationship like mine. He takes care of me, but I'm sorry,
The main reason why I don't want to be married anymore is because the way that I've been able to make my 17-year marriage work all of these years is by compromising myself. Compromising what I think, compromising about what I value, compromise what I want, compromise the type of relationship that I want to have. Everything has been a compromise, but the compromise has been on my part. Me adjusting, changing, doing things differently to please my partner and to make the family as a whole work. And I just know that it's just not the right thing to do anymore. But on the other hand, it's really scary thinking that I'm going to be 52 years old out there living by myself with my kids, trying to make it in this economy. I don't have an education. I never went to school. I didn't have a career or anything like that. There was no plan B. This was always the plan. Be married, stay married, raise a family, and just stay together and make it work to the end. I'm taking a huge risk, and sometimes I question whether it's the right thing to do. But I know the reason why I'm questioning is because I'm so used to compromising myself. I'm so used to putting myself last. I'm so used to just making myself disappear so I can be in these roles, wife, mother, whatever, and somehow hopefully make other people happy, and that'll be my life. But that's not the right way to live. I want to find a different way of living. And I have a lot of regret that I've waited so long and I'm doing it now at 52. I don't have, I don't have youth. I don't have, all of the optimism. I don't have years and years in front of me. I don't really even have the time to kind of wait on it or waste. I mean, I don't have a ton of time. I mean, if I don't do it now, when will I ever do it? When will I ever be comfortable in my own skin? When will I ever feel proud and happy and like myself? When will I ever be in a situation like that again, unless I go out there and try to take it for myself? It's pretty scary, but I have a feeling that it's going to be worth it. I think it's going to be worth it.
The video where I say that marriage is not beneficial to women, I've had a couple women come and say, well, it's beneficial to me because I don't pay bills. You think it's beneficial, but it's still not. The only way him paying all the bills is beneficial is if he can afford to pay somebody to cook and clean. If you're doing the cooking and the cleaning, then you're doing the cooking and the cleaning for free room and board. If somebody came to me and said, hey, you're going to cook and clean and take care of my kids, and in exchange, I'm going to give you a place to stay, I would say, you know what, maybe if I was a college student, that might be a good plan, but I'm going to pass on that because that sounds like hell, especially when I know how much chefs make, cleaners, nannies, etc., especially when I know how much they make a year. And you want me to do it for free 99 for a roof over my head? Nah, no. You better be a real housewife. You're going to lunch. You are taking girls' trips. You are going shopping. You have a nanny. You have a chef. You have a driver. But don't come up in my comment section telling me that marriage is benefiting you because you are the free labor. It's benefiting you if he's paying you for every single job title you hold, and he's paying you the cost of living for each of those job titles. But it's not beneficial in exchange for room and board.
Listen, if I can go back and tell myself one thing, it would be don't get married. Run fast. Stupid. That was dumb. We don't need to get married. Women in 2026, we don't need to get married. We can make money. And I feel for the propaganda. I'm not going to lie. Desiring marriage will be forever the biggest scam I ever fell for in my entire life. Okay? I would have still had my baby, but I wouldn't have got married. I would have just kept it at that. I would have been a baby mama. I would have gladly signed up to be a baby mama. There's no benefits. There's no benefits. Second thing I would tell myself, don't quit your job, you dumbass. Dare I say, you will not know who you're married to until you become financially dependent on them. That's when you'll really see. Okay? Stupid. And people try to warn me like, oh, you sure? You sure? My baby was in a NICU for 26 days. I got married while my baby was in the NICU. He knew what he was doing. He knew I was gonna be out of there. I wasn't even in the mental space to get married. Stupid. Divorce is so expensive. It's so expensive. By the grace of God, I was able to get a job right out of this marriage after not working for 5 years. That was nothing but God. That's how I knew God was on my side. That was crazy. Will I say, being married and leaving my husband has been the closest to me feeling like my life was possibly in danger. That was wild. These men are crazy. They are absolutely insane. When you marry them, not all of them, maybe y'all found a unicorn. Before y'all get in my comments tussling, maybe you found a unicorn. And if you did, thank God. I've been a stay-at-home mom for 5 years. Okay? 5 years. I have a husband who some people would say is rich or has money. Okay? I will also say that I have had the pleasure and experience of hanging out and having married friends who are also stay-at-home moms behind all different races and backgrounds, and there's very few of us out there that aren't drowning. Going back to work, I welcomed it. It was my pleasure to be here. Stupidest shit I ever did.
Now, Islanders, maybe just take a quick break right here, because to really understand why so many women are questioning marriage today, we have to start where it all began. Originally, the whole history of things. So historically, from what I was reading, marriage was not about love. No, not the way that we think about it. Marriage was about survival. It was about property. It was about the social structure. Women those days didn't marry because they found their soulmate. No, they married because of security. They married because of protection and economic stability, right? So for centuries, women couldn't open bank accounts or even own a property independently. So marriage wasn't like a romantic choice then, it was more of a viable path. So love sometimes came afterwards, your ear will grow as you grow to love them, but it wasn't the foundation. Fast forward now to the 50s and 60 years later, that is when everything kind of shifted, right? Women started to enter the workforce. Women became independent. Women could choose to stay single and still survive comfortably, and that changed the entire dynamic. So marriage went from being necessary to being optional. Get me? I hope you stay with me. So when something moves from necessary to optional, expectations are going to change naturally. Now, marriages isn't just about stability, it's about emotional fulfillment. It's about, or should be about, partnership and compatibility and friendship and shared values, intimacy, the strips, right? And that is a much heavier load for one relationship to carry. So when women today say that they regret getting married, sometimes they're really saying that the expectations that they had did not match the reality that they are experiencing. They thought that they would be entering a partnership, but they feel like they have entered a whole responsibility. Everything alone showed down on them alone. Another thing I noticed in the TikTok rabbit hole I went down is that how many women were saying that they married young. Yeah, they married in their early 20s before fully knowing themselves. When they're married at 23, you are marrying one version of yourself, but when you're probably 33 or maybe even 38, you are not the same person. Your values evolve, your priorities shift, and you tolerate changes. Yeah, pretty much. From what we have been seeing so far, some of these women aren't saying that their husbands are all the way terrible, and keyword on some. They're saying that they outgrew themselves or that version of them that made that choice, and that's a very different statement. There's also the reality of idolization. A lot of people marry into potential, and that is dangerous. Some we married ambition or even marry into promises. We marry the idea of what life may look like as opposed to what it actually is, and sometimes that potential doesn't fully materialize the way that we imagined, and the gap between expectation and reality can really feel like regret. So when you hear women say, I don't want to do it again, we have to ask, are you regretting the person, or are you regretting the timing or the pressure or the version of yourself or even the fantasy that you believed? So guys, the conversation is layered, but I think it's definitely worth having. And of course, guys, let me know how you feel about this, all what we have seen and heard thus far, down in the comment section.
Marriage is the worst thing that has ever happened to me, and I regret marrying. Like, I regret with everything in me. I regret marrying. I wasted my youthful age, I wasted my school age to get married to someone whom I thought loved me, not know it was all camouflage. My parents were against it at the beginning because I was in the university right then. My parents were against it, but I said no, I will get married. And then I forced myself to get pregnant because I know when I got pregnant, there is nothing they can do. I got pregnant and they allowed the man to marry me, and today here I am. Nothing is going on for me. Everything is stagnant. The man I thought loved me has become my worst nightmare. Nothing is going. The only joy I found is my son that I have with him. This son give me joy, so much joy. But whenever the father comes home, I start to cry. He has been cheating. He doesn't take care of the house. He has been doing all sorts of negativity. Mention it. It doesn't give me pain. For the past 3 months, I have never spoken to my husband. No base of it. And the worst part is that even when I completed university, he asked me not to work because he would take care of me. So even if I had to buy sanitary pad, I had to go to my husband. And that is how he is just using me. He will bring women home to our matrimonial bed, do whatever he wants to do and go. With my child and I in the house, he doesn't even care. Even if you don't care about me, even if you don't respect me, what about your child? This man doesn't care about any of us. He just bring the women home and do whatever he wants to do. Ask me to come and clean the bed, because if I don't do it, he will not give me money to eat. He will not take care of my child. And I am not working. Now, I am regretting every bit. I need a job. I want to leave this man, but first I need a job that will pay me. My son is in school now. Please, if any of you have a job for me, just link up.
Every time I get some wild ass news about my own divorce process, I'm gonna come and tell y'all some shit y'all need to know. Instead of you rushing to get married, I'm breathing hard because I just left the gym. Instead of you rushing to get married just to say you got a man, educate yourself on narcissism, get your money up, make sure you got your shit together. And I'm saying that because as I am walking through my own process and I've done all of my crying behind that narcissistic ass cokehead man that I married, I am seeing that women are in a hellhole because they, and I'm not victim blaming, but understand, they 9 times out of 10 were sold on the dream that is your end all be all. That is not the case no more. Get your shit together before you get married. We cannot depend on these no more. Educate yourself on narcissism, because that is not an easy thing to navigate through. That's why I speak on that. Excuse me. Because y'all take that play. You take it for play and you don't understand how demonic and nasty these folks are. I'm not even going to tell y'all what the fuck I got going on right now, because again, I know that I got eyes watching me. That's what they do. Y'all talking about men don't stalk. Yes, them bitches do. You have to educate yourself. Have your own bag together. Women are out here struggling. It is excruciating to come back from dealing with these men. I was minimally affected. The only thing that bitch did was empty out our savings account. I can tell you that. That's the only thing that he really did that I'm like, now I gotta work hard to rebuild that shit while keeping up bills and all that. To be honest, I ain't even worried about no savings account right now. I am focusing on keeping myself afloat. There's so many women that cannot do that because that man f***ed them over so bad. Getting married, get your bag together, know what the f*** you dealing with, and understand every aspect of narcissism you can, so you can play that bitch better than he played you. That's it. You know what, ladies? Go ahead and get married. Get married, get it out your system. That way you can see what the hype is all about. Like, get it. Go ahead, because y'all want it so bad. Y'all are fighting so hard to be domestic servants. Y'all want to be, I don't know what it is you think that marriage is going to provide you outside of the contractual benefits. You ain't going to live as long. You're not going to be as happy. You're not going to be as healthy. But if you want it so bad, do it. Just do it. Then you can stop with the fantasy of it all. Then you can stop wondering what you're missing out on. Then you can stop chasing it, and you can realize it's not what it's cracked up to be. Get it out your system. Go ahead, give yourself about 5 years, maybe 7 years max. Feel it, understand, and then be done. Be done. Now there's no more hype about it. Now there's no more curiosity about it. Now you don't have to live your life longing for something. Do it. Get it out your system. I don't want to hear nothing else about it. I don't want to hear no more complaints, because it's what it is a lot of y'all get married and realize that what people have been telling y'all, and now you stuck. And now you in it. And now you like, dang, I can't even go against the system because this is something that I begged for. This is something that I prayed for. So go ahead, do it. Do it. do it. Let us know how you like it. Be honest though, because most of y'all are lying. Most of y'all are lying about how you feel about that marriage and that man. But go ahead, get it out your system. Go ahead. The reality is, marriage benefits men, but divorce benefits women. Yes, alimony, spousal support, but let's be honest, how many of y'all are actually dealing with men that are affording you this lifestyle already so that when the divorce happens, now he owes you this? Y'all aren't. Y'all aren't. Y'all are begging to be married to some of the worst people. All it is just to validate the decisions you made to have that man's kids or to move that man in and to do certain things for him. So the validation for you is, let me at least get a ring? No. Good luck. Good luck.
Y'all want to know something funny? I knew my marriage wasn't going to work the night of my wedding. Granted, I knew it wasn't going to work before then, but I knew 100% it wasn't going to work the night of my wedding, because the night of my wedding night, y'all, instead of sleeping in the bed with him, I slept in the bed with my sister, Alex, who was my maid of honor, right? So there's a lot more that goes into that story. But yeah, lo and behold, exactly 1 year later, we were separated, and exactly 1 year and 1 day after that, we were divorced. Well, always listen to your gut, y'all.
You either gonna have standards or you gonna have a man, but you ain't gonna have both.
When I was younger and I used to see people in my family or just people in general have these 20, 30, 40-year marriages, right? When I was younger, I used to be like, wow, I want something like that. Like, I want to be so in love with somebody that I'm with them for 20, 30, 40, 50 years and we die together. I used to think that what held marriages together for that long was true love. And of course, communication, understanding, sacrifice, all those things. Let me tell y'all what really holds marriages together. Women just putting up with shit. That's all it is. When you understand that all it takes to keep a man is for you to constantly be forgiving bullshit and constantly be like, oh, okay, I don't want to lose him, so I'm a forgive this, I'm gonna forgive that. That's all a long marriage is just the woman constantly putting up with it. That's all it is. You not leaving him because he did this, and that's all a long-term marriage is. And that's why when these dumb men be in my comments talking about, you're going to be single forever, you're going to die alone, you're going to die with your cats, I'd be like, good for me, good for me. If the alternative is having to put up with you, good for me. Like, keeping a man is not an achievement. Keeping a man low-key be sometimes a failure for a lot of y'all. I'm just saying it.
I think one of the biggest regrets in marriage for me is that I wished I'd picked a man that had friends. Because a man without friends is practicing friendship on you, is practicing loyalty. And I'm not talking about having siblings because they all drank from the same well. I'm talking about having other men in his life that he has relationship with, that are standard bearers, that hold him accountable, that he can lean on and be vulnerable with. If he doesn't have that already, then he's practicing with you. Because we might think that in that moment when he shares, oh, this is the first time that I've ever been able to be vulnerable and open with anyone, is a flex. I think it's more like a warning sign. Because the minute that there is any tension and conflict, guess what? He is closing down. He is shutting down shop. Because he hasn't developed the emotional bandwidth or the relationship muscle required for a healthy coupling. And again, I'm not talking about familial relationships because they are fraught with all kinds of obligations. And so where he may show up for his family does not mean that he will show up for you.
I knew my marriage was over long before it ended. And I remember laying in bed at night, asking myself if I could do this just 10 more years, just till the kids were done with school. Talking myself down every night and talking myself up every morning that I could do it for them. I could suck it up for them. I could keep their world together, keep their childhood the same. I could sacrifice my happiness continue to feel like I was a shell of myself for the sake of my kids and for the way that my life looked on paper, because on paper it was picture perfect. I was a nurse practitioner, he was the cop, we lived in a nice neighborhood, had the nice house, 2 beautiful kids, 1 boy, 1 girl. But every night when I laid in bed, I wondered how much longer I could do this for. If I could make it through another day of pretending everything was fine. That I was fine being mom and dad and bill payer and housekeeper and secretary for schedules, doctor's appointments, childcare, school events. And my resentment grew every day. There was a lot of other stuff. There was a lot of other things that were not okay, that were done. And I don't know if I'll ever speak on those for the sake of preserving the image of my kid's other parent, for them, not for any other reason. I don't know if I will share that one day. I haven't really unpacked all of that. But something happened that I couldn't anymore. I couldn't pretend anymore. A lot of things happened that I couldn't pretend anymore, but there was one event that I couldn't share a home anymore with the person I thought I was gonna spend my life with. Someone that I knew since I was 14. And so I say all of this to say, if you find yourself in a similar position, you're not alone. You are so not alone in wondering how much longer you can do this, how much more you can put up with, how you'll ever make it through, that it just seems so much easier to stay, that how are you going to afford it? How are you gonna, it all seems impossible and so overwhelming, but the only thing that I can say is once you start, you figure it out. There is another side, there is a breakthrough, and you just do it. It's not easy. It's not easy by any means. It is not, especially when there's little hearts involved. It's not easy. But one thing that I will say is I'm finding myself again, and I'm not the person that I became in my marriage or what I thought was left of me. And it's taking a lot of time to deconstruct the image of what I thought my life was going to be, both in my own work and in therapy. It's a lot, but it's so worth it because I'm happy. My kids see me happy. They get the energetic, full of life mom that loves to do things with them and loves to have fun, instead of a body just existing, wondering if there's supposed to be more to life, or if everyone just feels this way and nobody talks about it. It's not normal. So that's my rant of the day.
I cannot stop thinking about how men actually do not make our lives better. We need to be talking way more about how dangerous men actually are for us and how much they ruin our lives. Did you know that when you enter a marriage as a woman, your life expectancy goes down about 1.7 years? A man's life expectancy goes up about that same amount. Despite the angry misogynists yelling about how women get everything in divorce and women get to take half of what I make, first of all, Two people laboring for one salary in a marriage means that two people earn that salary. So of course that gets split up at the end of a marriage. But what I would actually like to talk about is the fact that two people usually enter into a marriage while both having careers. And women's are the ones that get pushed to the side and sometimes ended with marriage. Women are the ones who leave marriage at a disadvantage because they have a huge gap in their career. And men will literally complain that after having exploited a person's free labor for however many years, that person is then entitled to financial compensation. Every bit of hard, cold data points to the fact that marriage is harmful for women. We are conditioned to constantly make ourselves smaller, more palatable, more consumable for men, especially the men that we are married to. And did you know that one of the main drivers behind autoimmune disease in women is the fact that we repress our rage for so much of our lives? Is the fact that we spend so much of our lives swallowing what we really feel and silencing ourselves? That's how serious this all is. We are talking not only about your access to money, aka your access to freedom for the rest of your life, but how long and healthy that life will be. And so many women throw away their light, their career, their health to be in these marriages because we are sold this lie of marriage being the best thing that a woman can do, and being with a man being the best thing a woman can do, the only path to fulfillment and happiness. And the moment you can stop believing that a man, any man, is going to come into your life and improve it and fulfill something that you haven't been able to fulfill for yourself is the moment you are free. Because that's the moment you can start making your life better for you right now.
Guys, let us talk about what we saw kept coming up over and over again in these videos, which is the emotional labor. That phase became very popular, but when you strip it down, it simply means that you're carrying that invisible mental weight of a household and a whole relationship, as well as children, on your back. Every single thing. A lot of women describe feeling like the default manager for everything. They have to remember appointments, they have to coordinate school schedules, handle birthdays, groceries, planning, communication with family members, you name it. Even when both partners work full-time, the mental checklist, unfortunately, sits heavier on one side. I wouldn't know who for side that sits heavier on. Me not to say it, but not to state the obvious. And the interesting thing is that, many women said that their husbands, some of them at least, weren't all that bad. They weren't abusive, they weren't cheating, they were just not carrying the same mental load. And over time, of course, that imbalance doesn't always explode dramatically. It slowly build into some form of exhaustion. You can just imagine a pressure cooker or even a kettle. After a while, it's going to build up and, the steam and all of that. Another thing that we heard about, of course, is the identity loss. Marriage, especially when combined with motherhood, as I said before, can shift a woman's identity drastically. You go from being an individual with dreams and hobbies and being spontaneously free to being somebody's wife or being somebody's mother or even somebody's support system or even them support animal at this point. No offense, but for real. Some women wake up years later and realize that they don't even recognize themselves in the same way. Like, who am I? You look in the mirror, you're lost. And that realization can feel like regret, even if their marriage itself isn't toxic. It's more like grieving that older version of yourself that you lost along the way. And of course, there's a social media. Hello, that social media amplifies that comparison. When you're constantly exposed to these highlight reels of other people's perfect relationships, their vacations, their date night, all of those romantic gestures, it can make an ordinary marriage feel very overwhelming, even if the relationship itself is stable. And comparison can create dissatisfaction. One of my favorite quotes is that a comparison is the thief of joy. If you know, you know. But of course, guys, at the same time, social media has also given women that language. Years ago, we might just say that we feel tired, that we feel unhappy. Now you can basically articulate that emotional neglect. Once you have the language, then you can name exactly what you're feeling. And once you name it, then sis, baby girl, you can't ignore it. And another thing that I also noticed is that many women said that they didn't necessarily regret the marriage as an institution itself, they regret rushing, they regret ignoring the red flags, they regret settling because they felt pressured, basically on the time. They regret choosing comfort over compatibility. And there's also the reality that marriage carries today more emotional expectation than before, just my opinion. It's not just about providing or just raising children anymore. People want their spouse to be their best friends. They want them to be their therapist, their business partner, co-parent, lover, emotional support, as me say, companion, growth, and all of that. And it's a tall order, and when those expectations are not met, then of course naturally disappointment is going to set in. First Islanders, with all of that being said, we're going to continue. But if you have made it thus far into the video, you're still here with me, you haven't liked, you haven't subscribed, I'm looking at you with the good eye. Yeah, I'm preying you. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Anyway, guys, let's keep watching.
I know the TikTok sheikhs are gonna come for my neck, but I don't really believe in marriage. Not in modern day, at least, because I would say that the majority of the time it doesn't work out. And even when it doesn't end in divorce, it ends in absolutely hating and resenting each other towards the end of life. And the reality is that in most marriages, women get the short end of the stick. Like, women are the ones who have to sacrifice their careers, their health, their well-being to take care of their husband and the children. And in modern days, a lot of women are still working at the same time as doing all of that other stuff that has always been an obligation for women. I'm not like a psychopath, so there's still a part of me that like craves it. Like, I yearn for it, but logically, I just don't really care for it because I don't think that it's gonna benefit me, honestly. I feel like it's actually going to stunt my growth. It's going to stunt my career. It's just going to stunt me in so many ways, and I'm going to grow to hate that person. I didn't have to be in a marriage to have observed that in literally hundreds of marriages of the people around me. There's also a part of me that's just skeptical about the idea of being with one person for the rest of your life. And because so many people go into marriages with such high expectations, like they think it's going to significantly improve their lives, and then they're like quickly humbled within the first few years of marriage, I just feel like that actually sets people up for even more pain and heartbreak. Because society and just like our families have raised us to glorify marriage or to see it as like our end-all be-all purpose in life. And when you are disappointed by that, you just, it leaves you lost and broken and confused. But yes, there's still a part of me that like yearns for it. I do feel lonely every once in a while, but I know that I'm better off alone. And I'm more so in the mindset of like, if it happens, but it'd have to be like the most ideal situations. Otherwise, I just don't think that it's worth the time and effort and pain. Not to mention, in marriage, a lot of women's needs and their, how can I say this without pissing people off? Their desires are very rarely met. There's that aspect of it that actually leaves women feeling very frustrated. And then when they're not satisfied in their marriages, a lot of times the men will then go seek out other women because they can't satisfy their wife. Like, I just can't, why would I put myself through that? I've seen far too many marriages that have failed, or if they haven't entirely fallen apart, they leave, at least the woman for sure, just feeling so broken and regretful of even getting into the marriage in the first place. Like, most of our moms and aunts and everybody, they're miserable in their marriages and they regret marrying the men that they married. So part of it is also just like the fact that they didn't choose well, but like, that's the reality for most women. Man, the sheikhs are gonna come for my neck.
I just left the gym, as you can probably tell. And when I work out, it always gives me a lot of time to reflect on life. And sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not so good. And today I was just kind of wallowing in some thoughts while I'm listening to this song that always makes me go, why was I not enough? And while I don't want him back, I don't want the chaos. I don't want the gaslighting. I don't want the lies. I don't want the mistreatment. I don't want to walk on eggshells anymore. But I just go, why? Why did, after all those years, I not matter at all? Why was he not capable of love? And I know that that's just a trait of some people, that they just can't let people in. But I gave so much of myself. I poured myself into that relationship. I lost myself as a result of that relationship. I gave up friends. I pushed away family. I didn't do the things that I enjoyed doing to focus on the things he enjoyed doing because he was so afraid of the world. It's just like he didn't enjoy socializing, so therefore I couldn't enjoy socializing. And he didn't like going out and doing anything fun, so we just stayed at home. And I worked from home, so I was just a prisoner in that house. But, I'm glad I got out. I'm glad I have the freedom now. I feel such a sense of peace every night knowing that there's not any mood that I have to watch out for, any eggshells I have to walk on. But, it just makes me so sad that I gave so much of myself and so many years of my life to a man who didn't give a crap. He didn't care. And I cared. Why did I care? It's just heartbreaking. It's just like, I wrestle with this, and I have days where I'm like, I'm fine. I don't, I'm glad he's gone. And of course, I'm glad that it's over. But man, I regret the years I lost. I just lost my 30s and my 40s. I lost them and gave them. I spent them on him, on a man who was just not capable of returning it. And that is a tough pill to swallow. So that's kind of what I'm wrestling with today, guys.
Marriage ruins a woman's life. Marriage absolutely ruins a woman's life to the point of where she could potentially be put in a destitute place because of the reality that comes with being in proximity to a man. When you are in proximity to a group of people who are volatile, who are hostile, who are irritable, who are probably going through andropause, who are frustrated, who are angry, who can explode on command depending on whether they are able to regulate themselves, who fail to be emotionally literate individuals, all of that factors into their ability to receive more and more income. The more regulated you are, the quieter you are, the easier it is for you to digest the reality of other people's ability to pour into you from a financial perspective. The easier it is for you to grow as an entity that eventually is going to have some form of economic progression. If you as a man are unable to control all of those things and use stoicism and masculine conditioning to basically be this imperceptible accoutrement to the overall container that you live inside of, and you attempt to be inside of a woman's life, you are ultimately dismissing the fact that the construct of patriarchy that she has to live inside of is an additional container that you are controlling by not being present in the relationship that the two of you are going to potentially have in the future. And what this does to that woman is it basically alienates her autonomy to connect with you and puts her in worker mode. She now recognizes that she's with someone prior to her even figuring it out beforehand, who is incapable of navigating their own individual world because they're playing the character inside of it. They don't have their own individual autonomy. And them not having that autonomy takes away that woman's autonomy if she lives or simply because she lives in a patriarchal society, right? There are double standards that are automatically placed on top of this woman. So how that destroys the marriage is that if you tell these people that they are legally bound, right, that the taxes that they receive are going to be potentially harsher, and that woman's going to be taxed more than that man is, or certain things that he is afforded, she's not going to be afforded, that there are going to be so many systems and are so many systems put in place to ensure that if that man leaves that home, doesn't take care of the children, or let alone decides that he no longer wants to take care of her, all of the things about her life are wrecked. Like, are simply just, like, they're wrecked. And not only are they wrecked, if she does not follow a trail that is basically like hoed and sodded by men and by the systems that men create, her own path will have individuals who bring their own contradictions, who bring their own prohibitions, preventing her from seeing any kind of momentum in her own life because she is not following the path that men believe is necessary for women to follow if these women are holding proximity to these men, or even allowing themselves to have proximity to these men. The reason why women are not getting married and why they're not having babies is far beyond the crotch level. But to make it easily digestible, economically and psychologically, it puts them in the space of a 12-year-old little boy. Emotionally discombobulated, inferior to those who are older and in better places, hormones all over the place, incapable of taking care of themselves, emotionally destitute, hungry all the time, not feeling good, picking up random sickness. It's like so many horrific things just happen to this woman's life by her being in proximity to a man, because of the way that he, by other men, and by dismissal of the actions or the responsibilities that he should have picked up when he was an adolescent child. All of those things, they just affect this woman's life over and over and over and over and over again. And she cannot grow, right? To be married to that is to basically like give this binding contract to say, if this man's life is to go entirely to shit, you are fully aware that everything that happens afterwards is also your responsibility regardless. And that he is afforded the privilege of not having to fix anything that he wrecks behind because he's a man, and society and all constructs that support him will continue to do so. And if you do not cater to him or cater to the collective of people who are like him that run the job force and run the corporate world and run all of these systems, you cannot function and prosper in your life. Women are opting out because they're recognizing, well, if I have to live in this system, I'm going to live in it as comfortably as possible. This is why they don't want women to be single and why they are forcing them to have babies or be in relationships in some way, shape, or form, because they recognize that women are capable of growing at an exponentially faster, like an alarming faster rate than men can. That they can transcend in multiple ways while literally building ecosystems on ecosystems inside of their bodies. And that is something that men are completely incapable of comprehending and or understanding because of the simple fact that patriarchy forces them to stay so one-dimensional intellectually and constantly need other men to validate them through their own individual experiences. Women have fully been aware of that and are basically raising these men through these relationships. I don't think women should get married at all. And this is great because men will disagree with this. Because most men want to marry women because that's what they believe the best part of life is to be. It's like you grow old, you get a job, you get super strong, you get muscles in the gym, you get a great job, you get an education, and then you start a family and your life is complete. Even, and I won't get anecdotal, but just to make a small little like cutout, even as an LGBTQ man, which most men will probably reduce me to regardless, my experience outside of my sexuality is so much larger because of the simple fact that I was not raised with the intention of marrying, even though I was raised after getting outside and not having an attraction to women, I could view them as people rather than viewing them as milestones that checked off specific boxes for my life. To know that the reality that women live in from a perspective of a man who is potentially going to pursue her in the future is to be a baby maker and a homestead wife over long periods of time to cater to this person in every way, shape, or form without actually providing any domestic labor or any intellectual labor or actually like creating a solid foundation for this woman to actually have a functioning life. It's such an inhumane thing to digest, to just see that women have literally just been dissected and reduced to nothing but a concept for men to digest and take advantage of consistently. It's a very sad world to live in, and I think that more men should understand that before even thinking about marriage. So if you're a woman and you're between the ages of 20 to 30, don't talk to men. One take.
I think the real takeaway is that marriage basically magnifies whatever foundation it was built on. So if you've entered it without fully knowing yourself, then uncertainty is gonna grow. If you entered it with imbalance, then imbalance is going to grow. And if you entered it with like a genuine partnership, then clearly you get the gist, it's gonna grow as well. So what's different today is that women feel more empowered to say how they feel out aloud. They no longer know whispering to them friends about that dissatisfaction to that close friend or that best friend. They're putting it online and putting them on blast. So that visibility makes it feels like a crisis, but they're just being honest with evolution and all of that. I also think it is important to separate regret from hatred. Regret can simply look like, okay, I made a choice, and based on the knowledge that I know now, then it would have been different. And that doesn't automatically mean that someone is miserable every day. It means that your perspective changes over time. My opinion is marriage isn't inherently bad. I think it's the structure. The experience inside of that structures, it depends on the compatibility, the communication, the shared effort, and the timing. And I'm going to emphasize on the timing because the timing is huge. When you marry at 22, it may not align with who you are at 35, as I say, because growth can either bring people closer together or it can highlight the differences that were always there. So maybe the real question isn't, is marriage that bad? Maybe the real question is, are people taking time to understand themselves before committing to forever? And also, are couples actively growing together instead of assuming that love will carry everything? Food for thought. It's just me thinking out aloud. So of course, Islanders, your girl as usual is curious to know, if you are married, would you ever do it again? If you are single, does this conversation make you feel hesitant or more intentional? And if you are happily married, kudos to you. What do you think that made a difference between your marriage and what we have seen today? Of course, let us talk about it respectfully, of course, because so we're not going to moderate adults around here. And I know so this conversation might be heated, but listen, it is worth having. Anyway, Islanders, this is where we come to the end of today's discussion. If you have made it to the end, thank you, big up yourself so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you want to continue to watch more relatable discussions like these, you can go ahead and click the up next video, whether right or so on your screen, and enjoy the day away. as per usual, guys, thank you again so much for sticking with me until the end. My name is Jody, and I aspire to inspire. Until next time, guys, walk good.